All right, so today I want to talk about this article slash survey, and it was published by the Daily Mail, and the title is "The Job Makes Us the Happiest Housewife. Survey finds stay-at-home mothers are more satisfied than any other profession." And the main thing I wanted to talk about was kind of the lies of feminism and the kind of the bill of goods that it sells women, and that to be happy you need a career, and to be successful you need a career, and all this kind of it's really just lies. And I'll talk a little bit about it here. And um, they scored, or housewives scored 87.2% um, on happiness ratings. The next top five were those working in hospitality and events management, creative arts and design, the charity sector, which would be expected, leisure, sport, and tourism, which would kind of be like a part-time kind of thing. The least satisfied were the ones working in marketing, advertising, public relations, with a rating of 53.8%. Um, Women working in police and security, 59.4. Salesmen, 67.4. Civil servants, 70%. Shop workers, 70%. So the big kind of traditional career jobs, like the ones in sales, marketing, like the big office jobs, those are the ones that women identify as being the least happy. And the main reason, I think, is, I mean, it's pretty obvious. There has to be a reason for it, and it's not sexism. It's a lot of these women aren't cut out for this kind of thing. Sales, especially marketing, all these kind of things are high pressure, high, a lot of risk, a lot of reward kind of things, and that's not really how women evolved. Men tended to be the ones that evolved to be super competitive, which is why they have much higher levels of testosterone. Men tend to be a lot more ambitious, and that's what makes a successful salesman, a successful marketer, a successful person working in public relations, that kind of stuff. The idea, the things that women were best at, um, charity. I mean, anyone working for a charity, I think would be happy, unless it's like terrible hours or terribly low pay or something like that. But creative arts and design, again, that's something that women tend to be very interested in. Leisure, sport, and tourism, again, more of a leisure kind of part-time thing. All of the go-getter, like I said, high pressure kind of jobs that, yeah, you have a lot of pressure on you, but the reward is a lot higher too. I guess the high risk, high reward kind of jobs, those tend to be the jobs that men are the best at. Not to say, the one thing that I would make clear is that it's not all women. I know there's people that still don't understand stats. It's more or less that it's a much higher percentage, basically, that men just tend to be a lot more, like I said, ambitious. Testosterone, that's what that kind of stuff was made for. And again, we spent tens of thousands of years of evolution that men and women had different roles throughout those years. So the feminist idea is that basically they have to ignore those tens of thousands of years of evolution of gender differences, because if they don't ignore them, then that kind of debunks their whole argument of, in any area where there's a difference between men and women of outcome, that it must be sexism. That's basically the feminist argument. And even if you agree with feminism to some extent, you still have to deny that, because the idea that men and women spent tens of thousands of years with forced to have different gender roles. And again, this was for the fact that for society to survive, for humankind to continue to exist, that had to have happened. Nowadays we have the luxury where that doesn't need to happen, but again, that's another thing that feminists and kind of the leftists of nowadays tend to ignore, is that they'll lecture Christians on evolution and history and all this stuff, but yet they completely ignore all this evolution and all this history, very conveniently, I might add. But that's kind of the main reason for the difference, in that this is one of the things too that I think we need for society to move forward. Is not not to go back to like the fact it was only women as homemakers and only men in the workforce, but for society to continue to advance and to move forward, we're going to have to go at least a little ways back, because I know Jordan Peterson talks a lot about this, and people tend, even a lot of people who agree with him on a lot of stuff tend to disagree with him on, but I think he's right, is that just throwing women and men into the workforce without talking about potential problems beforehand and without acknowledging problems in any way, shape, or form, without just blaming sexism and any other excuse is just BS. It's something that we have to do, because I think that this is really holding people back nowadays. I mean, clearly, wages haven't grown in the last 20 years. Again, women in the workforce tend to be overwhelmingly dissatisfied. Men are having a very hard time in society getting ahead, so it's really not benefiting anyone, too. That's the one thing that I would point out, is that sexism against one gender doesn't really benefit either one, because, nowadays it's pretty clearly it's men that are facing the brunt of sexism. Again, I've made this argument before. I've said it again. You can go watch videos on it from me and others. Men are really held back nowadays, and by definition that hurts women, because maybe, women get these higher paying jobs because of gender hiring quotas, but they don't have a relationship with a man, because women tend to want to pick men who are earning more than them, who are higher status than them. That's hypergamy. That's just evolution. It's okay, but that's why a lot of that's the thing that really bothers me too, is that women nowadays, I don't know if they legitimately don't notice it or they just don't want to admit it, but there's a big problem with dating nowadays, in that, number one, people are increasingly single. The amount of single people in their 20s, 30s is insane. And that women tend to talk about it like it's like they just don't understand why they can't find someone. And it really baffles me, because it's pretty obvious. On average, women's they're too picky, and there's hypergamy, which, like I said, means women want to marry up, which means they want someone who makes more money than them and or is higher status. And when you're a woman making a lot more than what you did in the past, it's a lot harder to find that guy, which means the only way a relationship is going to work out on average is if they feel like they're settling, when in reality they're not, but they feel like they're settling, which means they're setting themselves up for a failure, basically, in their relationship. But getting back to this, it's that if you want to be happy as a woman, the best way to do it is very clear. It's you find yourself the best quality man you possibly can, you marry him, and you're a stay-at-home mom. And maybe down the road, once your kids get a little bit older, then you go into the workforce, because, then, why not? Your kids are old enough, they can be at home by themselves after school and stuff, and you can make a little money. And you might not even need the extra money, too. That's the other thing, is that you might not even need it. If you're taking care of everything in the household, that means that your husband or boyfriend or whatever can dedicate 100% of his focus to his career, and that he'll be able to move up faster than if he's having to worry about the kids and, doing laundry, cooking food, all that kind of stuff. Because if you really want to be successful in your career nowadays, if you can put 60 or 70 hours a week, you're going to be more successful if you can put 40 or 50, on average. Obviously, there's exceptions, but the more you put into it, the more likely you are to get more out of it. That's basically the simplest way to put it. So I'll leave it there. I think that's a good way of getting the point across. If you liked the video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more.